Okay, please go ahead.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, module 3. Okay, I think this is going to be a short module, so we'll cover and be able to let you go on time, inshallah. So we'll talk about the customer success versus customer support teams. We'll talk about some best practices according to us, right? There's no taqleed that you need to do on that. We'll talk about from our experience, and we'll talk about a structure of a reverse success team that you can use to establish your team, inshallah. Okay, so customer success versus customer support. So here's a practical example, right? So customer support is, when your largest connection is not working, you call them up. That's customer support, right? Some technical difficulty in a product. You're going to what do you call that? Apple Genius, is it? Is that what they're called for Apple Care and what have you? That's customer support. Okay. A customer success is what I was talking about earlier, right? When you sign up for a gym trial, right? Or when you sign up for LinkedIn, or when you sign up for Meta or Facebook or any other cloud products, right? Put in chat if you know what I'm talking about. Give me an example of a product. You know what they do? They reach out to you. They call you. Hey, I'm calling just to make sure everything is well. You enjoyed your thing. Do you have any questions? Would you like to sign up? We haven't seen you coming. We have a new class happening. Or LinkedIn would say, oh, you have 25 profile views. Come and check them out. You have updates from your friends. 10 of your friends have joined Meta. Stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about? Can anyone put an example in the chat? No? Yeah, Uber Eats, right? Discount. We have a new store opening up. Discount of 10%. They reach out to you because they want you to use their product. They're not just happy that you downloaded their product and okay, khalas, you'll forget about it, right? They want you to utilize it more. So they want you to be actually feeling successful and feeling value of their product, right? And that's a lot of Instacart, exactly, because all these subscription models, it's not like a one-time sale. The more you use it, the more you continue to use it, the more money they will make, right? So that's what they want. So they are focused on you being successful with their product. Unfortunately, many of us don't think like that for our new Muslims, or even Muslims that are kind of coming back to the masjid, we just let them be. All right. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about, right? That's the mindset that should change. And once you do that, a lot of your approaches will change. I'll show you some examples. Okay. One basic example of contact exchange. Okay. So it took me some time to change the way our masjid staff also works. Okay. Somebody takes Shahadah, right? Dawah Canada, someone comes in, takes Shahadah. Now, Brother Naveed will be like, or Brother Atiq will be like, okay, you took Shahadah. Here's the contact card for Naveed. He's our convert care team. Please contact him. Would that be customer support or customer success?
Customer support.
Customer support, right?
Customer support.
Good. And many of us have been used into that model. Now we don't do that, right? They look at the Dawah Canada team. Let me pick on them, right? They got your email before they let you in, right? Why? Because they will contact you. They don't want you to be like, hey, this is Dawah Canada, contact us if you're interested. That would be fine, but they're smart, alhamdulillah, right? So they took your information, so now they can reach out to you. And masjids do that too, right? You sign up, fill the form, email, we'll send you like a donation letter, pamphlets and what have you. So that's called, customer success focus. So that's the first thing, take their contact. If they don't want to, that's a different story, but that mind shift or paradigm shift needs to happen. Okay. The other thing that you can do is introduce your services, right? So let's say you're Dawah Canada, or your brother who's working with Dawah Canada, or sister working with Dawah Canada, but your local masjid is different, right? And your local masjid may or may not have a program for new Muslim. But when the Shahadah happen, right? Or the Shadi happens, right? Shadi means marriage. So many times it can also be related. So now you get a lead for a new Muslim, but you won't get it. The Imam will get it. The masjid manager may get it. The marriage officer may get it, but they may not have the time or training to take care of them. So if you build a relationship with them, then they will pass on those contacts to you. And then you train them that, look, don't tell the new Muslim to contact us. Take their contact, tell them, hey, we work with this team, they will contact you. That should be the default. Okay, so introduce your services to imams or the management of the masjid close to you, right? As volunteers, tell about street dawah team if sometimes they don't have that. And obviously, you are connected to a street dawah here with Dawah Canada. But let's say if you have other street dawah teams in your city and you're working on as a new Muslim, tell them about it. Obviously, tell marriage officers, let the general public know. So that will become a system for you to get exposed to new Muslims. Okay, some other tips. Okay, so introduce carefully, right? So we want to introduce converts with other people in the community. Some people have this mindset of, oh, I'm going to introduce convert with convert. Many times we see messages on the WhatsApp groups. Oh, I have a convert. Is there a convert I can introduce him or her to? Really? Right? Like that's the thing. Like that's part of the myth that we have developed. Not all converts are alike. Not all convert to convert relationship would be fruitful. So think about the right person that you want to introduce them to, right? So sometimes it could be a non-convert, right? So, but as convert coaches, when you introduce the converts to other people in the community, try to find, commonality, education, age, sports interests, and what have you. Help them network, help them make friends, and same thing with social events, right? So a lot of the teams or people would think about, we need to do convert event. Very rarely that's a good idea. Most of the time, I think it may not be a good idea because you may spend a lot of resources and time and volunteer efforts, and then only one or two converts show up. You might be better off, if needed, take them on a private dinner or small group dinner if you need to. Otherwise, bring them to the masjid events. Get them a free ticket for the next masjid Eid event or masjid activity or masjid barbecue. Actually, we haven't done that recently. Obviously, COVID happened and whatnot. But for example, in my masjid, people know, okay, I'm dealing with converts. If they have a walima happening at the masjid or aqiqah happening at the masjid, sometimes they will invite me. Sometimes they will not invite me. But I know the aqiqah is happening. I know the walima is happening. I know the brother who is doing it. I'll ask them, hey, you know what? Is it okay if I invite some converts to it? Now, most converts will not come, again, for various reasons. They're busy or what have you, but maybe one or two would come up, and now they can, attend the event with the community, and they can start meeting new people and so on and so forth. So you can integrate, in the community, or invite them to other events that are happening in the city and whatnot, right? And if there's any obstacles, such as they need a ride, try to arrange a ride, or buy them a ticket and what have you. Okay, another thing that you might want to think about is educate your community. So obviously, like the masjid, right? The elders or anybody else at the masjid that are coming in, they will see a new Muslim coming in, making mistakes in the salah, or not wearing proper clothing, or not doing wudu properly, and they may go ahead and correct them with the right intention. Okay, but the principles of Amar bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar also dictates that you telling someone to do something should not cause a greater harm. So sometimes if some random person goes and corrects someone, what also happens is the person may be like, he may become more conscious, self-conscious. Oh, people are correcting me. Then they become hesitant to come to the masjid. So in general, we should encourage the community not to do that, and to maybe tell you, or just say, hey, you know what, you look like a new face. Are you new in the community? How is everything? Oh, by the way, we have a convert care team. Do you know anyone from there? Let me introduce you to them. And then they can tell you, and then you can take care of that, right? Again, based on where the person is, and gradually help them improve. Or they may say, oh yeah, you know what, I'm already working with the mentor here at the masjid, Atiq, and okay, class, then no problem. That's great that you already know him. That's fantastic. And then the elder or the community member should back off and maybe update Atiq that, hey, I noticed he was doing this and that. You can bring it up appropriately, when appropriate. Many times, our community members may make different comments about ethnicities and politics, or other comments that may be very offensive to the new Muslim. So just something that inshallah we can educate them. I have a video here that I did, like a reminder or a lecture or whatever you want to call it, at our masjid. You can utilize that to educate your people, inshallah, people around you. Now, lastly, be careful, right? Not to just add them to any and what WhatsApp groups. Because, like you may say, oh yeah, we have a ISNA, for example, brothers group, let me add you there. Was that a good idea? What stuff they discuss, is that like good idea for a convert to be seen, right? So just something to be careful about. Sometimes, I'll give you one example, right? People don't even monitor what they're putting. Sometimes people don't read what the other person is saying, and it just becomes a mess. It can. So be careful about that. I'll give you an example of a sister. I hope that there's a name that's matching with the sister. Probably is the same sister story. I hope that you won't mind if it is. It may not be because I don't honestly remember. But there was a sister, right? Her mother or one of her relatives passed away, and then she posted on a WhatsApp group that such and such person has died. And WhatsApp group, people just keep forwarding. They don't even read the previous message, and just happened that someone forwarded a message about like punishment of grave right after that message. So things like that happen. So let's be careful about not just adding them to WhatsApp groups, and being careful of where and how you add them, inshallah. Okay. Right now, I'll just give you an idea of different roles of a revert success team, whatever you want to call it, convert success team, convert care team, however you like it. But here are some of the roles that you can have. So I think the primary roles is what I'm calling convert coaches, new Muslim coaches, new Muslim success coach. It's a coach, right? It's a proactive da'i. It's not a passive person. It's a customer success, not a customer support person paradigm here. Then you can also have passive teachers, right? So, I work with Abu Hurairah Center, as in like that's my local masjid. So we have, du'as, actually some of them are here on this call as well. Jazakallah khair for joining. And then we have, passive teachers, right? So we have some people in the community who may be, let's say, Quran teachers, or they may be, okay to teach Salah or what have you, right? Different teachers. But they would be like, hey, I do a class here, or I'm in the masjid. I'm in the masjid here from Maghrib to Isha. So if you have someone, you can send them over to me and I will teach him or her. But they won't be calling and saying, hey, why are you not coming to the class? But you connecting with those people is important. And those teachers should also understand that, look, you're only going to teach him X, Y, Z. Please don't comment on his or her, clothing or tattoos or, the way they pray or anything like that. Just teach him the specific thing and let me deal with other areas of development. It's good to have a group of general helpers in your community, on your masjid. The general helpers are people who are not committed on a regular interval, but they can help when needed. Okay, so someone needs a ride, someone needs some food to be shopped, or someone is sick and someone needs to be visited. Having a group of general helpers can help you, distribute some one-off tasks. Again, make sure the general helpers understand not to correct every mistake of the convert, and just provide them that help and provide them that family phase, and let you be the in charge of the correction and development from a technical perspective. You could have people that are helping with that social events thing I told about, right? So they're helping you tell, okay, masjid is having this event, we'll get a ticket, or this person is having a walima or aqiqah, they're okay to invite 2 converts or what have you. Boom, boom, boom. So they're like PR, they are telling imams and other people that, hey, we have a team, we can take care of it. So you could have these 4 categories or 4 different hats, and obviously one person can wear multiple hats as well. That's not a problem, but you could, that's how I think of different roles to support converts in a community. Obviously when you recruit a team, make sure you clarify what the commitment you're expecting them for, like 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week. Encourage them to learn. We do weekly status updates in my groups, right? So that includes who you're following up with, what are the issues, and also encouraging them that as part of your weekly update, you must attend some sort of Islamic knowledge circle, right? Because I talked about that desensitization thing. So as part of my team, everyone has to be part of something. You may be attending 4 hours of knowledge circles. You don't have to tell me everything, but at least you should have something like 20, 30 minutes that you should be able to share. That's talking about personal growth by seeking knowledge. So this is the question I think Fayyaz asked. So if anyone is interested, this is details about using HubSpot. So HubSpot is a CRM. You can actually model it. I can help you as well if you want to, but all the instructions are there that you can use to actually track all the converts and different challenges and growth and milestones and all that if you want to. So this is training demo for users. The other one is for admin if you want to set up for your own organization. That's it. Module 2 is completed. Alhamdulillah, module 3 is completed. Alhamdulillah. We can take questions, or you can pause the recording however you like. I'm around, I have time, so I can be here for another 10 minutes or so. So if anyone wants to talk, questions or even challenge ideas or share your experiences, I definitely like to learn as well. So inshallah, let's do it. Bismillah.
I have a question, Brother Zubair. So you have had experiences with young guys who have converted to Islam, right? So yeah. So my question is like, and this is common with the two people I know from my masjid who are 16-year-old kids who converted to Islam, both belonging to Catholic families. Now the food that they eat is what their parents are providing them, which means non-halal food primarily, right? So how do you deal with that? Because one of the kids who accepted Islam 1 year ago, he said that because he believes that they're Christians, so their food is halal for him. So he doesn't eat pork, but eats everything else. Says Bismillah before it. The other one doesn't. He just accepted Islam, so he doesn't even know. So I don't even know how to tackle that issue with them.
Okay, yeah. So this will come in. We can definitely talk about it. This will also come in later sections about do's and don'ts, right? So first of all, the point is like sometimes I don't even bring up that topic with them, right? Because remember I said one of the things you have to think about is like how motivated they are to practice Islam. So this is one of the things that you can gauge, right? So look, I mean, so especially if the person is living with their parents and what have you, so you have to, I mean, this is, again, I'm not giving any fatwa or anything, but I'm just saying just from a practical perspective, I would again focus on increasing their faith, encouraging them to learn, and for them to start establishing the salah, right? Once they figure out that, okay, you know what, I need to now eat halal and what have you, now that becomes a thing of like, okay, how are you going to go about it, right? So and also because halal is like, there's a good difference of opinion as well, so that's why it's also not a super high priority for me. Again, we'll talk more about it in do's and don'ts, but the point being that, look, I may have a different opinion for myself, but I may have different approaches for people, right? So this may not be as big of an issue because, I mean, I don't even know, like, are your converts praying 5 times a day, or do they pray Jummah, or like, probably not, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, right? So that's why I would first worry about that, right? And then, and then it depends, like, because some converts I know, like, their parents accommodate, but most of the time, like, I don't think I've ever talked to anyone about it or asked anyone about it, to be honest. It's usually them bringing it up, right? Because because if a person is to that stage where I would be comfortable talking to them about it, then they would be ready as well, right? Because they are now already praying and everything is in check, and by that time they've already picked it up that, okay, well, there's halal food and haram food, and they're working on it, and so on and so forth.
Fair enough. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I think, is it okay if I put in the slides link, or you want to do that later?
It's up to you. You can put it over here, or you can share it with me, and I can email it to everyone.
Okay, so yeah, so you have the email, right? So,
yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry, you have the link. So I will let you email, or if you want, I'll let you share, inshallah. It's totally up to you.
Brother Zubair, I have a question. So as a coach, do you, this is more like a long-term, like the question itself is geared in a more long-term perspective. Like as a coach, do you have a certain timeline in mind, or is, since they're in the driving seat, you let them kind of, take in charge, and like a gym subscription, you just let them, like, you work with them as a member as long as they want. Do you understand what I'm trying to
right
say?
So I think it's twofold, right? So I think, yeah, I try to keep in touch, right, as long as I can as well, and as long as there's value, right? So that's one. Like, for example, I mean, I'll share that inshallah next week when it comes to the follow-up. So the way I do it is, this is again my own personal thing. So when someone starts, usually I talk to them at least once a week, or I try to talk to them at least once a week. Okay. Sometimes it becomes more than once a week, depending on the person. Okay, and the way I do it, for details, like I whenever I add a name in my phone, I put some codes, like shortcuts, like I use NMZ, that tells me that, hey, this is someone I'm gonna message every week. So for example, I have many contacts. I mean, if you ask me, I can't tell you all the names. So I go on my phone, I look up NMZ, all the contacts show up, and I message them.
Well, I saw you message. I may not remember, so I would love to get in touch with that person.
Okay, I'm gonna meet. All right. So, and then for example, what happens is that, if the person stops responding, is not talking or what have you, then I'll message them once a month, right? So I have a different code for that. Now, actually recently, just like this week, it's been a long time. So some people I'm just messaging and cleaning up. And then I move them on a different code. I call it XZ, and I don't message them. Maybe I'll message them like once a year or once in every 6 months or something. But pretty much I don't want to spend time messaging them because contacts are growing and those people haven't been responding. So I don't know what the situation is, but then I stop after some time if I don't hear back from them in several months, like up to 6 months or something. And then I have something like which I call NMOZ, which means out of scope. The person is just fully integrated in Islam. Like the two brothers I showed you earlier, like Darren and Zaki. They are people that I consider them. I don't consider them new Muslim anymore. Like they know what's going on. They know who to talk to. So I just keep in touch with them as a friend. Depending on the friendship, sometimes if I'm not keeping in touch with them regularly, I'll just message them once every few months, especially if they're not in the community. I don't see them in the masjid, right? So like I try to keep in touch, but so that's one thing, how long you keep in touch, right? That's up to you, again, how busy you are. Because remember I said in the beginning, right, as well, like the choices that you have is, how do you want to use your time, right? And you are the best judge of it, right? But what I would say is, like, obviously if you join a team and you have been given a contact, then at least to some extent you will be following up, because now you have taken responsibility to at least follow up for a few months, unless you say I can't, hey, please someone else pick this guy up or this sister up from the team. I don't have time to do that anymore. But that's, at the end of the day, you are making that choice. How do you want to spend your time? And the other thing, which is like, because your question has two elements to it. The other thing is like, okay, well, yeah, I do want to encourage them, right? So I do occasionally bring it up, like, okay, well, do you want to add one more prayer now, right? What's happening with the Friday prayer? What can we do to, what's stopping you from praying on Friday or what have you? So I do take it to the next level if I can, like, occasionally gently challenging them. So that's part of that coaching that we'll talk about as well, inshallah. I hope that answers your question. I see a hand raised. Okay, that's MW. I think she said Madhya, right? Sister Madhya.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Jazakumullah khairan. Yes, that's correct. It's Madiha. Thank you so much for setting up this presentation. I've been looking around a lot for resources like this. And I think I mentioned a little bit on the forum as well. So alhamdulillah, like, I'm from Alberta. So our city over here is hosting, well, it's not hosting, but we're creating a program at my local masjid that's supposed to cater to new Muslims. We have attempts, little groups here and there. And like you said, we don't want to create a drift between, quote unquote, new Muslims and born Muslims. And there seems to be a lot of that going on currently. So our masjid is trying to revamp, the structure of how new Muslims are welcomed into our community. There's a lot of, like you said, and I completely agree, like programs that are only for converts. And I don't think that does anything to help them, because at the end of the day, you're still disconnected from the greater community. So my question right now is, because we're still, in the infancy of developing such a program, learning from, your program and like everything else, mashallah, that's around the world available. There's a lot of resources, and trying to compile all of that, it's a little bit intimidating, but alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who creates ways. So my question to you is that, mashallah, this past Ramadan, we have had, many people convert to Islam, but at this point, we don't really know how to handle it. So we did take down their information, like you said. So we do have their information. We didn't ask them to call us because, to be quite honest, we don't have anywhere to call. They would just end up calling the masjid. How would you suggest we start with this? So inshallah, we are still developing it. My team, inshallah, is going to be putting all of this knowledge together. Inshallah, it's sadaqah jariyah for all of you guys. But before, before we're able to roll anything out to the new Muslims, how would you recommend we fill up that time. We don't want to lose these new Muslims. We don't want them to feel lonely. The Hajj is coming up, and then again, there's going to be a big event where they're probably going to feel like, oh, we're not really a part of the community. So what is your recommendation? Like, how do we manage those new Muslims until we have something we can give to them?
Right. So, okay. So, well, first of all, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward and bless your efforts. And alhamdulillah that we are part of that journey. So I think like the bar is not really high. Like, to set up something like that, you need like, even if you have like 2 coaches or 2 volunteers or even 1, right? Or 3, like, I think all it just takes is like, for example, going through this training, right? And then by next week or what have you, you'll have that, plan in place. You can give them that first call and start setting up meetings, right? So for example, what you can do as an example, you can say that, okay, you can find like, people, first of all, who are committed, 2 or 3 or 4, and then each one can have, if you want to call it office hours or meetup time, right? That, we are here, you have a slot from 4 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday, you have a slot from 10 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, and we will be here. We are welcoming you. We'd like to have a meetup with you. We have coffee or snacks, what have you, or tea or snacks. And then, please sign up for any of these sessions, right? So then what you can do is that the first conversation that we'll be talking about next week, you can have that first conversation with them, depending on how you want to do it. Let's say if you decide to follow this pattern, then you can bring them in those slots. And then let's say, so you pick 3 slots and everyone signs up for 1 slot and then everybody comes in. So you start having those relationships with them. And then you start having weekly meetups, which you can do again in the same fashion, right? You can have, let's say if you have 3 coaches, someone is doing it Wednesday 5 to 6, someone is doing Saturday, whatever, Sunday something, right? And then people can sign up and keep coming to those things. If you realize those are not enough, or there are certain times that don't work for anybody, then you can try to have a one-on-one with them and accommodate at a time that works for them, or you can add a different time, right? And then, so then you can now start having those weeks, because so I'm saying that, yes, so invite them, let them know what's happening in the masjid today. So it could be Friday circles or Friday khutbah or some, lunch or what have you, and they can start coming to the general event. But I think what we'll be talking about next week is you will still want to have like a one-on-one follow-up with the convert if possible. Does that answer your question? Okay, so I think just stepping back, to get started is not a very high bar. You can practically get started next week, right? And then you can start slow. Like one could be just organize the first meetup with them, tell them about the activities that are already happening in the community, maybe add 2 or 3 different sessions a week, and then different converts can come on different time if you can't find one time for everyone.
Jazakallah khairan. That really helps, because we were kind of wondering, like, should we have a citywide invitation, for example, for sisters? Just sisters come on into the masjid, there's coffee and donuts kind of a thing, versus should we keep it revert sisters only? And it's a little bit of a tough choice to make, because again, like I said, we don't want to separate them from the community, but like you said, I guess having that one-on-one conversation still keeps them in the inner circle. And then, having those bigger, general programs at the masjid should help. Jazakallah khairan.
Right. So I'm assuming the masjid already has general programs, right? That people, if there aren't, then you can start more too, right? So for example, let's say if there's a sisters get together happening, anyways, right? Or sisters are coming for Friday night halakha or Friday something, then the converts can come and utilize it as well. But then you also want to introduce yourself and the other team that are focused on welcoming converts or newcomers, and have those one-on-ones with them and follow-ups. And then you introduce them to other events that are happening in the masjid that they can join in.
Jazakallah khairan.
Right.
Sister Madiha, can I ask where in Alberta you are in?
It's
what
Calgary. It's Calgary, yeah. Yeah. And I would love, like, if there's any way to keep in connection with your guys' team, because I've actually been given, charge of creating that presentation, where I'm going to be giving it to the team that I have at Akram Jama. That's the name of the masjid. And we're trying to develop this program for the new reverts. Mashallah, we're a growing city. But at this time, we don't have anything, that's going to keep them engaged. I've seen a lot of revert welcome packages, and you know, it's just a little bit sad because sometimes those amazing books, which are of course like, you know, really expensive and everything, the reverts just pass them on, and nobody wants to read a novel right when they convert to Islam.
Right.
And it's just hard like to explain that to other masajid and like dawah programs that, okay, like once you do have that revert, don't give them an entire collection of books to read. They will not want to read that, to be quite honest. There's a couple of sisters who have been trying to learn the Quran, and they've been at it for 2 years at least, and they're still just at, okay, I'll come to this class, then I'm going to miss a month, attend a class. And so we're just trying to figure out how to create that constant engagement and interest without making them feel like, you know, you're not a part of the community, or that yes, you are a part of the community, but that you're different. And that's what's going on in our general culture, city culture right now, is that there's a lot of like, there's a lot of drift between the definition of new Muslim. And that's why I think one of the sisters asked this question earlier on, and I really liked it. And I'm, you know, looking forward to the answer. What is the definition of new Muslim? Because we also have to educate our own community not to be labeling someone as a new Muslim or revert, because it might be that they've been quote unquote reverted to Islam for 20 years. And, you know, one of us came to Islam and realization and closeness to Allah just 5 years ago. So really, who's the revert here?
Correct. Yeah.
So it's subhanAllah, it's a little bit intimidating, like I said, but inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who makes ways.
Inshallah, we have a team in Edmonton, but inshallah, we'll be in contact with you, and whatever we can do in Calgary, inshallah, we'll do that.
I would really appreciate the support. Jazakumullah khairan.
Brother Zubair, it's almost Maghrib time. We are approaching Maghrib time, so I think we should close.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khairan, everyone. And assalamu alaikum from my end. And Atiq, the floor is to yours.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. See you next Tuesday, inshallah, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Okay. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.